Alright, so this is CS Discoveries in Code.org. This is Unit 2, Lesson 12. This is Sources and Search Engines. So this lesson encourages students to think more critically about how web searches work and how to find relevant and trustworthy information online. After viewing and discussing a video about how search engines work, students will search for information about several unlikely animals. They'll need to analyze the sites they find for reliability in order to identify which of the animals is actually a hoax. Alright, so the purpose of this is as students are finishing up their own websites, the lesson encourages them to also think about their responsibilities as consumers of information. By the end of the lesson, students should have developed strategies for determining which websites are more trustworthy and tie these strategies back to their own role of content producers by looking for ways to make their own sites appear more trustworthy. So, what you're going to do for this lesson is if you are at home, you're going to have to do this activity by yourself. If you're in school, in the classroom, I want you to get with a partner and you are going to set a timer on your phone or your computer for 7 minutes for this next activity. Okay? So, what we are going to do before we get started with that activity, I need you to download both of the activity guides that will be linked in Google Classroom. Okay, you should have an activity guide that looks like this internet scavenger hunt, and you should have one that looks like this, strange yet true animals. Okay, download them both. So, what we are going to do is when I tell you to start, you are going to start, and your goal is to not answer every question on the list, but to find as much accurate information as possible in the time that I give you. So, I'm not looking for this to be completely filled out. I'm looking for it to be filled out as much as possible with information that you have actually found. Okay? Making sure that it is accurate information for every single question. Okay? So, what I'm going to have you do is you are going to set your timer for 7 minutes. Okay? And what you're going to do is as soon as you are ready to go, you by yourself or you and your partner if you're in class, go ahead and press start on the activity guide. You are going to be doing this internet scavenger hunt, and I'd like you to go through this as much or as fast as possible, finding accurate information. Now, if you read the instructions, it says work with your partner to locate as many of the following as you can in the time provided by your teacher, which is 7 minutes. You are allowed to use any search tools, but be careful to find trustworthy sources. For each answer, record the search tool you used to find it. You should record your answers in the space provided below each item to search for in the hunt. So make sure that whatever you put down in this space, that you also put down the source that you got it from, because we will be discussing that later. So as soon as you're ready, pause the video and then go ahead and do your scavenger hunt. Alright, so now you should have completed your scavenger hunt. So if you haven't, pause the video and do so. So those of you that have, everybody should have completed their scavenger hunt. So we are going to have a little discussion about this. Which things did you think were the hardest to find? Okay, out of all of these questions, out of all 8 of these questions, which ones were the hardest to find? Which ones were the easiest to find? Was it easy to find things about government things, the walk from here to the state capitol building, the drive from here to the state capitol building? Okay, you can find that pretty relatively quick and relatively easy. First thing that comes to mind without even doing a Google search would be Google Maps. I would think that would be pretty trustworthy. Okay, on which of the day of the week were you born? Okay, that might be something hard for you to find. Okay, but if you just use like the calendar app and go back to the year that you were born, you should be able to find which day of the week you were born. So that's either accurate or it's not. Okay, what is the predicted temperature at this time 7 days from now? So you're going to probably go to a weather channel, put that down. Is that going to be accurate? Okay, it's usually just a guess when it comes to weather. Okay, what was the best-selling PG-13 movie in the year that you were born? So you have to look up that. Is that site trustworthy? Was it easy to find? Was it, since it's about, something about media or, social media involving, networking, entertainment, those kinds of things are usually pretty easy to find, but are they very true? Okay, what strategies did you use to find things online, and how do you know the information you found was correct? Okay, what song is being streamed the most this week? That's another one that might be up in the air. What source did you get it from? Did you find different things? If you clicked on different sites, did you double check any of your answers? Okay, an image of a dog on a red skateboard. Okay, you might have found that. Okay, but make sure that that is actually that person's picture. So just little things like that. An image of your school, that one should be pretty easy to find. An image of another building in your city. Okay, unless you know that building is actually in your city because you've seen it in person, can you trust that that source has actually taken that picture of that building from your city? All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to watch this video. I'm going to move it over here, and this is going to talk about the internet and how search works. So here we go.
Hi, my name is John. I lead the search and machine learning teams at Google. Well, I think it's amazingly inspiring that people all over the world turn to search engines to ask trivial questions and incredibly important questions. So it's a huge responsibility to give them the best answers that we can.
Hi, my name is Akshaya, and I work on the Bing search team. There are many times where we'll start looking into artificial intelligence and machine learning, but we have to address how are the users going to use this? Because end of the day, we want to make an impact to society. Let's ask a simple question. How long does it take to travel to Mars? Where did these results come from? And why was this listed before the other one?
Okay, let's dive in and see how the search engine turned your request into a result. The first thing you need to know is that when you do a search, the search engine isn't actually going out to the World Wide Web to run your search in real time. And that's because there's over 1 billion websites on the internet and hundreds more are being created every single minute. So if the search engine had to look through every single site to find the one you wanted, it would just take forever. So to make your search faster, search engines are constantly scanning the web in advance to record the information that might help with your search later. That way, when you search about travel to Mars, the search engine already has what it needs to give you an answer in real time.
Here's how it works. The internet is a web of pages connected to each other by hyperlinks. Search engines are constantly running a program called a spider that crawls through these web pages to collect information about them. Each time it finds a hyperlink, it follows it until it has visited every page it can find on the entire internet. For each page the spider visits, it records any information it might need for a search by adding it to a special database called a search index.
Now, let's go back to that search from earlier and see if we can figure out how the search engine came up with the results. When you ask, how long does it take to travel to Mars, the search engine looks at each of those words in the search index to immediately get a list of all the pages on the internet containing those words. But just looking for these search terms could return millions of pages, so the search engine needs to be able to determine the best matches to show you first. This is where it gets tricky, because the search engine may need to guess what you're looking for.
Each search engine uses its own algorithm to rank the pages based on what it thinks you want. The search engine's ranking algorithm might check if your search term shows up in the page title. It might check if all of the words show up next to each other, or any number of other calculations that help it better determine which pages you'll want to see and which you won't.
Google invented the most famous algorithm for choosing the most relevant results for a search, by taking into account how many other web pages link to a given page. The idea is that if lots of websites think that a web page is interesting, then it's probably the one you're looking for. This algorithm is called Pagerank, not because it ranks web pages, but because it was named after its inventor, Larry Page, who's one of the founders of Google.
Because a website often makes money when you visit it, spammers are constantly trying to find ways to game the search algorithm so that their pages are listed higher in the results. Search engines regularly update their algorithms to prevent fake or untrustworthy sites from reaching the top. Ultimately, it's up to you to keep an eye out for these pages that are untrustworthy by looking at the web address and making sure it's a reliable source.
Search programs are always evolving to improve the algorithms so they return better results, faster results than their competitors. Today's search engines even use information that you haven't explicitly provided to help you narrow down your search. So for example, if you did a search for dog parks, many search engines would give you results for all the dog parks nearby, even though you didn't type in your location.
Modern search engines also understand more than just the words on a page, but what they actually mean in order to find the best one that matches what you're looking for. For example, if you search for fast picture, it will know you're looking for an athlete. But if you search for large picture, it will find you options for your kitchen.
To understand the words better, we use something called machine learning, a type of artificial intelligence. It enables search algorithms to search out not just individual letters or words in the page, but understand the underlying meaning of the words.
The internet is growing exponentially, but if the teams that design search engines do our jobs right, the information you want should always be just a few keystrokes away.
All right. So we're going to go over this here real quick. Our vocab for this lesson: an algorithm is a precise sequence of instructions for processes that can be executed by a computer. So if we are doing something or we're making a search in Google, Google uses an algorithm in order to make our results better. That's what we learned from that last one there. Okay, relevant, meaning closely connected or appropriate to the matter at hand. So if we're doing that in terms of our search, if we're looking for relevant information, we're looking for information that relates to the topic that we're actually trying to search for. Like you saw in that travel to Mars, how that search engine algorithm does not look up something like Roman mythology related to Mars. It looks at the planet Mars. And then we've got search engine, which is a program that searches for and identifies items in a database that corresponds to keywords or characters specified by the user, used especially for finding particular sites on the World Wide Web. So a lot of common search engines would be Google, Bing, Yahoo, Mozilla. A lot of them have their own built-in search engines. And then that moves us on to trustworthy, able to be relied on as honest or truthful. So out of the many, many, many websites that are out there, we have to make sure that we as users are making sure that we are finding sites that are trustworthy, that are honest, that are truthful, that are not being used to try and trick us. So what you are going to do, so now that we know a little bit more about how search engines work, we're going to search for some information about some of the world's strangest animals. That's our next activity guide. So I would like you to pull out this activity guide, and you can do this electronically, or you can print it out and write on it if you'd like. This first part might be a little bit hard unless you want to try and draw or describe it, but if you do it on your computer, you might be able to just copy and paste in an image from your computer, and then after that you could probably print it out with those pictures attached and then write down the rest of the answers. So what you're going to do is you're going to have some time to search online and fill in the table of the activity guide. So you shouldn't have very much difficulty finding the information just by searching for the names of each animal. So make sure that you are going through, and it's likely that you'll find websites that are relevant to their topics, but make sure that they are trustworthy. So I would like you to, at this time, pause the video and complete that activity guide and fill out the table. So you're going to fill out for each of these three. It says use your search skills to answer the following questions about these strange yet true animals. So find these three animals. What does it look like? Draw or describe it. Okay, you can fill out that. Where does it live? What does it eat? What are its natural predators? What is one interesting fact about it? And then from which website or websites did you find your information? So make sure that you fill out every single column and box in this activity guide. So go ahead and pause the video now, work on that activity guide, and then as soon as you are done with it, go ahead and press play. Alright, so you should have your activity guide completed. So, did you find information that was relevant? So you probably found a lot of interesting information about those strange animals, but is any of it real? Okay, you have a couple minutes. So after I'm done explaining here, pause the video and decide, and you can chat with someone next to you if you have someone working on this activity guide, chat with a parent, chat with a friend, whoever you'd like to. Okay, talk about these three animals and the information that you found on them and see if you think any of it is real. Is it all made up? Are these real animals? Are they fake animals? Do you think that you found stuff that was trustworthy? Okay. For each of your discussions, you'll need some supporting evidence that shows why your source websites are either trustworthy or untrustworthy. So if you think one is untrustworthy, okay, make note of that. So take a couple minutes, pause the video, and go through your animals and your information and see if any of them are a little fishy. No pun intended. Alright, so you should have gone through and looked to see if you think any of your stuff is trustworthy, untrustworthy, if you found all relevant information. So what we are going to do is you are going to, let's see here. So, the only animal out of your three that you had here, the star-nosed mule, the Pacific Northwest tree octopus, and the blobfish, the only one that actually isn't real is the tree octopus. This is entirely made up. Okay, it's a fake animal. So, consider the websites that you visited for that animal and explore and see what could have been on that site that could have led you to think that that site is untrustworthy. Okay? So, in this class, what you're going to do, so if you're in class and you're not online, what I'd like you to do is have the first person that finishes this assignment, you're going to go down to the workroom, the teacher workroom, and you are going to get a poster. If you are at home, you are just going to write these down at the end of this document. So at the end of this document, you will put what I'm talking about down. So what we are going to do in class is we are going to make a trustworthy and untrustworthiness checklist on the wall on a poster. So we are going to clear out some space in Mr. Clark's room, and we are going to list down in two separate columns sites that we think are trustworthy and sites that we think are untrustworthy. So you are going to update this list anytime that you find something that's untrustworthy, and then you are going to, or vice versa, if you find something that's trustworthy, you can put that on there as well. Okay, hopefully we have a lot more trustworthy sites than untrustworthy ones, but this will be a list that we can always go to and update at any time and reference any time throughout the day. So as soon as you have, so if you're at home, you're going to just list down, what I'd like you to do is list 3 untrustworthy websites, those might be kind of hard to find, and then 3 trustworthy websites. So 3 and 3 at the end of this activity guide if you are at home working on this and can't come to school to get it done. Okay, if you are at school, what I'd like you to do is find 3 and 3 as well, but then put those 3 and 3 on the poster. If someone has some of the same, you need to find 2 and 2 that are different from the ones that are on the poster. So it's going to be harder the longer that it takes you to get this lesson and this activity done. So if you look at the list and one of the ones that you found is on there, you'll need to search for another one. Okay, so if if a bunch of the sites are on there that you have, you need to find 2 new ones that are trustworthy, 2 new ones that are untrustworthy, and update the poster with those. As soon as you complete that, turn in both of your activity guides, either electronically or hand them into Mr. Clark. And that completes our Unit 2, Lesson 2, CS Discoveries in Code.org, Unit 2, Lesson 12, about sources and search engines.